Thank you guys for tuning in. I want you guys to know that, I posted these two videos primarily to use as like a learning tool on how to play. I don't know how to play tournaments in general or specifically how to play Big O, but, I think it would do a lot of people well to watch part one several times, be like, he's playing pretty much every single hand. He's taking chances early because you have to run up a chip stack, and then how part two, you're going to see the drastic difference. You're going to see some amazing folds, I guess. I hate to say that, but like, yeah, sometimes I was talking with my good buddy Sean this past weekend. Sean ended up getting 19th in a WSOP main event and bluffed off his entire stack. He said that he's really, really good early on in tournaments, and he builds up a huge chip stack. He's really good to get down to about 30 or 40 players. It's one of those things that the difference between getting down to 30 and 40th is down to the final table. You might argue that there's a little luck or variance, but it really comes down to really tight folds. And I'll give you a perfect example. This past weekend, when Sean was in a tournament, he told me he got check raised on the river early on in a tournament by a tight player, and he had a straight, and of course the board was paired. And I said, "Well, it's a full house." He goes, "Yeah, but it's 13,000 to win 81,000." And I said, "That right there is the difference between 19th and fifth or first. Is that right there?" Because the people who make those tight folds, who understand even though you're getting the proper odds, that you still make those folds because you can pick a better spot. And this is something that I personally learned sitting next to Andrew Moreno, Johnny Vibes' brother. This was October 2021, I believe, in San Diego at an MSPT main event. And I'll be honest with you, when I sat down to Anthony Moreno, I didn't know who he was, and so I was just talking to him like any other guy. And then he literally got up and used the restroom or something, or maybe it was during a break. And somebody's like, "Oh my God!" They're like, "That guy's giving so much great information." They're like, "Do you know who that is?" And I was like, "No." And then they're like, "Oh, it's Johnny Vibes' brother." And I was like, "I know who Johnny Vibes is." But yeah, he just came off of his millions win. So it helped change my perspective on tournaments, and so maybe seeing this will help change your perspective on tournaments. And ultimately, as I tell a lot of my students, if you don't have three bullets for a tournament, don't register for it unless you understand that you're shot taking and that you understand early on you have to overfold, because the reason why you play really tight after the end of registration is because there's no opportunity to gather more chips. And that was probably the biggest take I got from Anthony Moreno, who is an absolute crusher. You guys know, going to Vegas, I'm doing a 100 to 10K challenge. I'm also trying to raise some money for charity because one of my viewers challenged me and said, "Josh, if you hit that 10K, I'm going to donate $2,500. That happens to be this guy right here, Stephen Lambert. He also, just so you guys know, the reason why he decided to do that, I did not ask him why, but I'm guessing he ended up getting seventh in a deuce to seven triple draw tournament. It was his very first deuce to seven triple draw tournament he'd ever played, and the first time he'd ever played deuce to seven triple draw. And he gave me credit for that. He said, "Josh, I watched your video several times on deuce to seven triple draw strategy. Never played the game," and he got seventh. And I think he was at the final table with Josh Aria, and Josh Aria was like, "There's no way this is your first tournament. You play too good." So sometimes I give really good advice. I appreciate that, Stephen. So enough of the chit chat. But if you do want to, right now, I think we have $2,600 in commitments. If I end up hitting $10,000, I'm going to give myself three opportunities in Vegas, buy in for $100, run it up to $10,000 in one session. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to show up to the table with 100, $200, 100 in red, 100 in white, and leave that just for tipping. Because if I'm going to be there for 40 hours, I think I'm probably going to go through $200 worth of tips and massages, is my guess. and use that separate from my stack and keep it on a table next to me. But I think I'm also going to bring 20 black chips for rebuys. So that's what I'm giving myself each session. Is I'm giving myself 20 different opportunities of $100 a piece. If I run out of that, then I'm going to call it quits. Also, if you guys want, I do have merchandise. It's on the Etsy store. I appreciate you guys. You order 2 items, you get free shipping. We're expanding more merchandise coming out. Like I said, I'm working on a shirt that says pot, rebuy. So we're coming out with some more stuff, particularly for PLO players, but for poker players in general. So again, if you want to commit to some of the donation, just leave a comment down below. Then I'll hold you accountable. So, but I appreciate you guys watching. Play smart and enjoy the video. So the reason why you're going to see this hand is because I'm posting the big blind again. I posted the big blind right before end of registration, and now I'm posting the big blind again. So I have 2 big blinds that I'm posting back to back. And if you're curious why this is, we're already 6 minutes into the next level. So once you object about it to a certain degree, eventually you just have to move on, whether it's right or whether it's wrong. But let me know what you guys would do. I actually tweeted Alan Kessler to ask what he would do, and he said go beyond the tournament director, go up to the next floor supervisor. And I thought, yeah, that's fine and dandy, but if you're already like 5-6 minutes into the next tournament where all the other tables are going, are you really gonna want to like spend another 10 to 15 minutes arguing? Yeah, so we end up posting 2 big blinds. Let me know what you guys think. Oh, well, moving on to the very next hand. I look down at ace queen 357 double suited. I'm out of the small blind. I limp, flop the nuts. I bet 7K. I get 1 caller. The board pairs on the turn. I check and then fold, because what else could the guy have? So here we look down at a premium ace king queen 4-9 double suited. We are on the button. It's the very next hand. I end up raising and I end up picking up the blinds. We end up looking at a pretty good premium Jack, Queen 4 ace with a suited ace. I raise to 8K. I get 1 caller, and then a small stack ends up jamming for 15K 3 ways. We go to the flop, completely whiff the flop, and then the third player who's in the hand decides to jam all in, and we fold. This hand should demonstrate how drastically different post-registration and end of registration is. So because we're past registration, I'm out of the big blind here. I just limp. When the flop comes out, I bet small, I get raised, and I turn it down. Here we limp out of the small blind. We go 4 ways to a flop. We end up whiffing, and we release. We limp from the cutoff with this Jack, ace 3-6 hand, and we end up whiffing, so we fold. So here's one of those hands that I was discussing about having really tight folds. So we look down at ace 4, 9-10 jack. So we do have 3 to Broadway and 2 to a wheel. The 9 kind of plays well with the 10 and the jack. But we have a player who's all in for basically 7 big blinds pre-flop. And for 7 bigs, this is something that we're going to call. And we're actually going to go 4 ways to the flop. Now, there's 2 other players who are in the hand besides me for a side pot. And the flop comes out the 3 of spades, the 6 of spades, and the 7 of clubs. And so basically we're looking at drawing to the nuts with spades and drawing to the second nut low. Now, what ends up happening is one player goes all in. I go in the tank for a while. I end up laying it down because I'm drawing. I don't have a made hand quite yet. And not only that, but what are these 2 guys getting it all in with? On a board that's 3, 6, 7 with 2 clubs. I ended up laying it down, and again, one of them actually turned over ace, deuce, 4, 5, and then the other guy had ace, deuce. So it's one of those things, and spades bricked out. So this was an opportunity for me to lose all of my tournament chips, but because you can't rebuy, I did not play this hand. Now, if it was before end of registration, I'm getting it all in. That's a huge difference there. I literally go card dead until we get down to 17 players. So we are on the stone cold bubble, pay 16. We raise to 3 big blinds in this hand. We end up scooping the blinds. At this point, picking up blinds is a big deal. So as you guys know, we are on the stone cold bubble. There is 17 left and it pays 16. So we have an opponent here. We're in the big blind who opens to 3 big blinds. Now the guy to my left played a big stack really well. He was constantly raising with anything. And when I say anything, pretty much anything. And he knew I had tightened up quite a bit. So when we look down at ace, deuce, 4, 10, 9, we're not going to go anywhere for 3 bigs. There's $97,000 in the pot. When the flop comes 4, 5, 8, I'm like, yep, this is a hand I'm willing to get it all in with, even though we're on the stone cold bubble. Worst case scenario is I can get quartered. Well, I could get scooped, but most likely if I'm up against a bad hand, cooler, I can get quartered. So I call, and we're going to see a run out here. Now, this guy was literally playing everything, but before we turn over the run out, because we're on the stone cold bubble, we have to wait. He informs me that he has ace, deuce, 4, 8. Oh, he's got me in rough shape. Because we're on the bubble, we have to wait like 2 minutes before we can turn our cards over, so I cut out a clip. So now we're going to go ahead and see a run out. We turn over the hand. So it'll be nice if we catch an 8, a 9, or a 10. So the turn comes a 5. Oh, that's not good for us. And then the river comes out a jack. Oh, we get quartered. So we are officially in the money. See, the difference in playing one hand or not might be the difference in whether or not you get paid. But as you guys know, I'm 3 bullets in the tournament, which means I need to final table in order to break even. I need to get a minimum of 8th place in order to make some money. So really, I'm not looking to min cash here. I'm looking to at least final table, if at all possible. We are looking down at the big blind, and it looks like there's a raise coming in towards us. And looks like there's a caller, and it looks like other people are going in the tank on this one. And we're going to go ahead and look down at our hand. We see ace, king, 8, 10, 4 with a suited ace, 8 of diamonds. And if any of you are curious why I always mention what suit I'm in, is because some of my viewers are colorblind and they can't distinguish the colors on the suits. But in any case, we have ace, 8 of diamonds, king, 10, 4. So here we have 3 Broadway cards, 2 to a wheel, and we have an 8. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just run with it. Let's just get it all in here. And surprisingly enough, we're going to get it all in 4 ways. So the bubble busted. We're down to 13 players. We're going to turn over our hands and see what happens.
Let's go.
Go, baby, diamonds. I'm ahead with the ace king.
It's the middle card.
Nobody got an ace deuce.
That's good. Oh, that's, come on, don't
I need a 3 or a king. Oh, that's bad for me.
Well, I'm in with a club.
Or a 6. 6, 3, 6, king.
All right,
King.
I got the low lock.
Wait a minute, we have an outside pot. Let's start.
I have ace king for a high and ace 4. Ace 4 and ace king. That's right, folks. 4-way all in. Ace king is going to get half the pot with exactly 1 pair. Sometimes that happens in Big O. So this hand, we look down at ace, ace, 4, 5, 5. I accidentally limp in this hand. We get 4 callers, which probably ends up making us more money because when the flop comes out, we bet pot and we scoop. Everybody mucks. We were down to 14 players. We call a minimum raise. We get it heads up, and we whiff with this hand, so we end up folding. Down to 13 players now. We're going to limp out of the small blind on this. We're actually going to go 4 ways. We're going to fold, but 13 players left. Now we're going to look down at ace, deuce, 6, 7, jack with the suited ace of clubs. Even though we have 3 clubs in our hand, we're still going to raise 2.5 bigs. We end up getting 2 callers on this hand. Now the first player ends up betting, the second player jams, and we don't have enough equity on this board, and we end up mucking it. Remember, this game, when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, getting down to the final table, it's about picking your spots. Here, I look down at ace, ace, 4, 7, 9. I raise to 3 big blinds. The big blind defends. We end up flopping nut, nut. We get it all in, and we get a nice double up. So I'm going to use this hand as an example on something that a lot of high-low players overvalue. And what that is that this hand is a primarily only low hand. Now, even though I'm critical of this hand, I am going to elect to raise with it because it still has ace deuce, so it still has some equity. So in this hand, I end up raising 3.5 bigs because partly also I've got great position. I'm in the cutoff. Now, the button and the big blind end up calling, and I end up whiffing this entirely and folding. But the thing that I want to talk to you guys about is hands like these are not very strong because you're primarily drawing to the low unless spades come out there. And so you're really only playing for half the pot. So these are hands that you want to avoid, particularly in cash games. But as you get deeper into a tournament, unless you have position, you really don't want to be playing these hands for a raise. So here we have a player who ends up being all in for 2 big blinds. So we go 4 ways to a flop. I end up flopping jack high diamonds. The other two players check to me. I bet. We end up eliminating a player and picking up a small pot. Here we look down at King, King, Ace, 10, 6, a nice premium. We raise to 2.5 big blinds. The short stack calls. We end up getting this one all in, but we're going to end up chopping it. Sometimes it's about the tight folds. Here we look down at Ace, Queen, Jack, Jack, Deuce with the suited Ace, Deuce of hearts. So this is a premium. We raise to 3 big blinds. We get one caller, the gentleman to my left, who ended up, I think, getting third in this tournament. Flop comes Ace, Ace, 3. We end up betting 3 big blinds, about 25K into an 80K pot, and I get check raised. Now, I ended up folding, particularly because I'm really only drawing to 2 jacks and 3 queens, but again, tight folds is what will end up having you advance when you get later on in a tournament. And he ended up turning over Ace 3. Now, if you're wondering why we're playing 3, 7, 8, Jack, Queen double suited, it's because we have a short stack that goes all in for 2 big blinds. There's 3 of us in the pot. We check it all the way down to the river, and the short stack ends up with the nuts. I ended up with the second nuts, and the other player ended up with the third nut, all diamonds, and there was no more betting. Looking back at this, I think I probably could have bet 2 to 4 big blinds on the river to get a little bit of thin value. We're down to 9, which means we're even for the day, but final table is 8. So we're not quite there yet. We get it all in versus a shorter stack, and we chop. So here I want to talk about a matter of patience. You can see that the blind levels are 5K, 10K, and you can see that I have basically behind my 10K big blind, I have only 61K behind. So I only have 6 bigs behind it. Now, when you look down at a hand like 7, 8, 9, 10 king, there's a lot of middling cards, but this is an easy fold. But it's important that you understand that you just get some patience because it only takes a few double ups to make a couple more ladder ups at this point. So the very next hand, I look down at aces double suited, ace, ace, 10, 7, 6. I make it 3 big blinds. I only have a half of a big blind left, and the big blind ends up folding, but I'll take it anyway. So we have a little bit more breathing room, and when we look down at a premium like this, ace, 4, 5, 7, 8, at this point in the tournament with the blinds being 5 and 10K. I'm going to limp out of the big blind. Flop comes all low. I flop a draw. I get it all in for 3 big blinds. I turn nut, nut, and we get a full double up, much needed. Here I look down at a super premium. We have a 3-3 hand. I pot for 4 big blinds. Everybody folds and we scoop. We're heading to the final table. 8 players left with 7.5 bigs. Let's go.
Scope around. You said 66?
Behind the 10. Behind the 10. Yeah.
I have it. I don't know.
So you guys go to any post flop, right?
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Gives me a good opportunity. I'll take it. Ask gets to the final table with 10 bigs. I got 7. And I'm just asking to ship it. Oh, wow.
Leave this shit here.
Check. All in?
I learned this from you. 3-3.
Alright.
Oh, you're 3-3's way ahead. I need a jack.
What's your other card? The 10?
He's got a 34 low, too. All right. Jack or running hearts. Oh, I'm live. 58. Keep it high. Keep it high, baby. Hi.
I'm getting free roll. Oh, that's me.
6.
Ace queen. Live 4, right?
Ace queen life.
Nice hand. All right. Well, here's my equity after the flop. Let me know what you guys think. Would you guys have ran with it? I was like literally the shortest stack at the table. I mean, I can be a little bit more patient, but usually on a tournament, patience starts to end once you hit a final table. You're playing for first, not for eighth.
Cash yesterday, so I lost 225 and then lost 385. So I really only lost like 600, for firing two $1,200 bullets with like the little cash I won, then plus the rebate.
Yeah.
So
So such is the life of a grinder. I was just joking with Wayne. We played all day, right, Wayne?
All day.
I had 3 bullets, which is what I planned for anyways. Knew I had to get 9th just to break even. So we played all day. I managed to make $135 after playing 12 hours, $10 an hour. I think the minimum wage went up to what, $12 an hour? So I'm not even making minimum wage today. Yeah, Wayne only ended, he had 1 bullet in. He only lost like $385. So, but you know, I feel really good. There were plenty of times where I was actually all in on the bubble, believe it or not. You guys probably saw that. And still managed to cash. So, still managed the final table. And yeah, I somehow feel really relieved or pleasantly surprised, even though I didn't finish bigger than 9th. But such is poker. You know, from failures we learn, from success not so much. So I'm gonna review all the hands and see what I can learn from them. I honestly think I played my A game, maybe not my A plus game, because when the bubble was there, the guy to my left was the chip leader, and he was just raising every hand, and I didn't go to battle with him once. But I think overall, I feel really satisfied with my play. So let me know what you guys think. Play smart, everybody. I'm like a guy.